wave clear just being needed on the map and you then trying to get that snowball going.
Caldor, we're just like an old couple now, man. We're like jaded and like we're like, oh no, not Chen, not Alor, get off my lawn. Let's go back to Zul, who is actually effective on this battleground.
Hey, I love myself a good Chen.
Okay, that's fair. Let's see
Alright,
if we
boys.
might get some Chen here, as it's time for Nomia to come in with the first ban.
Now, personally, it's Nomia and Freedom's tournament life here. They're going to
Yeah.
bring out all the stops and try to play comforts. And while I think it would be interesting to see Arcaner play an Alarak, a Chen, or a Zul, I think it's more likely we'd end up seeing him on his bread and butter. When he's in a clutch situation, he ends up on the Vala, he ends up on the Lunara.
Sure.
But with the Oriole ban coming out, that makes it slightly less likely. So I wonder if they can get Arcaner on his comfort ranged heroes, or if they will transition into that sort of maybe unusual role like you guys had mentioned.
Team Freedom thinking about Tassadar ban instead, which would leave up that Ariel.
Yeah.
Team Freedom would then be in a spot to where they could potentially outdraft the idea of those combos coming in. Team Freedom, though, they're thinking about it. Do you risk giving up the Ariel into a hyper carry that we've seen Nomia be effective on in the past?
And that's the thing. That's Nomia's comfort strategy. We've seen it at mid-season Brawl, like firsthand. If they get Task Oriole Vala, they're really happy. And this is really interesting to me that they decided to leave Oriole up in this third match. They obviously have a plan.
With this, you're already telling your opponent Genji is an option here. So that's one pick that you could take right now. Oriole then comes to mind as another high priority pick. And of course, the Tassa that you also saw, Harvard. So there's a lot you have to consider right now. If you pick the Genji, for example, on the other side, you could immediately see something along the lines of an Oriole with the Tassadar or the Hyper Carry already in play. Then later on, you can move the Tassadar in, you can move the Zarya in for the double support. So for Nomia, this is, I actually like that. I like the Uther ban here a lot since it allows Genji to be very effective as well, since you don't have to play against the double stun.
There's that, and there's also, this used to be a common drafting strategy in the past where you'd say, okay, there's the Oriole and Tassadar. If we leave both of them up and you take one, we know we're getting the other, and we're comfortable with that kind of play.
I anticipate Oriole Vala from Freedom on this rotation, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel it in my gut. I feel like the Uther ban in particular was meant for Nomia to pick the Tassadar.
Absolutely.
And I just feel like they can't let Tassavala through, because that's a comfort for Arcaner. And they can't let the Oriole through to the other side, because then they can just go into a different hyper carry with Lunara, Cassio, even Goldan on this map. So, I don't know. I'd really like to see Team Freedom go into, Vala Oriole on this rotate.
Any other thoughts, potential theories
outside
of that?
I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. I love when drafts go into 3D chess mode instead of checkers, where both of our teams are trying to outplay each other consistently, one move ahead. Oh, it's thrilling stuff to me.
Have you ever played 3D
I mean,
checkers?
you can...
No,
Oh, 3D chess?
I haven't,
No?
but I've heard there's a saying.
Alternatively, I could see Freedom going into Stitches Oriole.
Whoa.
Okay, so that is functionally equivalent. It's just the tank they decided to go with is the Anubrak.
So.
Oh, yeah, Stitches is banned. My bad, guys. But yeah, picking the tank in the Oriole does make a lot of sense. What that means is Freedom's kind of saying, yeah, if you want Tassavala, go for it. And I feel like Nomia should pick it, considering Arcaner is very phenomenal on that Vala.
Yeah.
But Freedom's essentially saying, yeah, just let's get a different hyper carry. There's so many in the game now. So I'd anticipate them to get
If
a
you do
Lunara
go for the
or a
Vala,
Golden.
do you move into your warrior? Wow, they're going to go ahead and do
Nice.
Tracer and
Okay.
Johanna.
I was actually thinking if they get Vala that they ban out Lunara and basically leave them with a potential Gul'dan as a follow-up on the Oriole, but now that Tracer is picked, you're not going to get rid of both of those. So do you ban any of the two, or do you just say, like, take a pick?
It's hard for me to say with, like, validity, but the early Tracer pick generally on Tomb of the Spider Queen suffers from a lack of wave clear, and that's why we see the early Johanna prioritization. But seeing Tracer on the first half of the draft, like, Team Freedom has 3 picks to sort of address the Tracer and counter in whatever way they see fit. So I'm really curious to see what they do.
What are those 3 picks for those at home?
They could go into a few strategies, I'd say. For Freedom in particular, I don't know what they'd favor. I'd like to see them go into pretty heavy wave clear. They still need a battery. I think Lunara has a pretty good matchup into Tracer overall, but we'll see if Nomia lets that through.
All right, well, Greymane will be the ban here for Team Freedom. Nomia will immediately ban out the Zul. So wave clear will be hard to match here for Team Freedom, but still.
That does make a lot of sense if you
does.
think about it, because Tracer's lack of wave clear makes it really hard to deal with a Zul if he's able to actually clear the 2 minion waves.
All right, well, Team Freedom, now thinking about the third and fourth here. Usually we'd grab your hyper carry that would be available. There is a Vala, there is a Lunara. Vala can be pretty solid against Tracer too if you grab another support, but I think I agree with you that Lunara by itself, you have to think about it, does put out that damage, especially post level 7 to be effective. But it's a Vala, and there's a Diva that we've been asking for 2 rounds.
All right, I'm loading the Diva here, so we finally get to see her. Not quite on the map that I expected it to in this situation, but I love that we have her. And Vala together with Oriel. So at this point, let's see how Nomia rounds us out. They already have the Tassa, now we need the second healer for them.
So theoretically, like, hear me out. Could they go Medivh, Team Freedom? They'd have the ley line set up into Bomb, and like, he has a good matchup to Alarak as well, but Diva is sort of...
Galaris' eyes lit up, sorry, continue.
I mean, I'm just a god. Keep going.
Oh, yeah, that is the Arcana hero, I guess.
Right
it
beforehand.
only just came to me. But good job, Galaris, that's good.
You're so good.
But Diva sort of fits that pseudo-support role when it comes to Oriel Vala with her W.
Sure.
So I'm curious to see if they would stack the Medivh on top. Good matchup into Alarak. Good synergy with the Diva.
Lucio.
Hello. That wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, it was not expected. Lucio. Typically, you see him in multiple tank setups. He's able to get nice sustain going to level 16 as well. But it is Tomb of the Spider Queen where he can be solid, and there's your Medivh for Team Freedom.
I like the Medivh a lot. We have seen the Medivh in Europe a few times against Tracer, and the fact alone that you basically negate her ult completely is fantastic. And if you play far back, you can also negate a lot what Alarak brings to the table. So a lot of the blow-up potential that Nomia is looking for is negated by Medivh.
I mean, the only scary thing is if you're the Medivh and you go through a portal and then you get discard striked. I mean, admittedly, you could click on the portal again and try and do that, but if you get displaced for any particular reason, say by a Lucio or something like that, or even the Condemn, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. So there is that scary point.
That's why I like that 4th and 5th pick here. First off, Alarak helpful against Diva, Telekinesis, and then the 5th, there's the Boop available that can help out with the Diva mech coming your way. And then, of course, you have control for the portal. So those two kind of lay over twice of what Team Freedom has available to them.
It's actually a fun conversation of game theory I like to have with Alarak players. From my perspective as a Medivh one-trick, I actually think the matchup is very volatile and bad for the Alarak. But not everyone shares my opinion, and I'm really curious to see if Dansky's execution against the Discord strike, if he's comfortable in that matchup, because a lot of it is based on your own positioning. And another aspect that you have to keep in mind is Alarak, his pull forces an early protection, which suddenly opens up the floor for the Tracer to land a pulse bomb.
Right, right. So overall, this is probably the most wild draft versus draft that we've seen of the day, to round out the day fully enough. So what are we making of it? Who do we think actually is in a better position here going into Tomb of the Spider Queen?
I actually like what we are seeing from Team Freedom, and I believe that with Medivh they can pull this off. I believe they played Medivh before. I really liked what I saw there, and I think they will negate huge parts of what Tracer's going to bring to the table with the new Burak Cocoon and everything else they have. I think they have the upper hand here.
Absolutely. I love the ley line into Medivh bomb combo, and it takes a lot of practice to be able to execute that combo in particular. And Team Freedom, hands down, has the best execution when it comes to that combo I've seen.
All right, well, it seems like we are ready to go into the game here. Game number 3 now to find out who's going to be staying alive here over in the Western Clash. Let's head over to the commentary team for game number 3.
A long day here on day number 1 that is now going to come to a close with 2 of the most wacky drafts we've seen on display today. One team is going home. Is it NA or is it ANZ?
You know, I would like to say, obviously, that it's going to be ANZ, you know, as a North American fan and North American commentator, but historically, Nomia here has proven that they do not fall. They get the upset to one major region, and it seems like maybe Freedom might be the team that is victim to them here at the Western Clash.
Tomb of the Spider Queen as the map choice, and I was discussing with you off air as to some of these picks that could have potentially come out, and I mentioned Chromie being a big one for Nomia, one that they're very well versed up against versing, and could that be the power pick that they decide to go with? But they've gone for the Alarak. I believe that's the second time we've seen it this tournament. On the same map, mind you, so let's see if the aggression is there to come with it.
It's going to start here with Team Freedom. One game away from being sent home. It's going to be North America here. We're going to have Zugrug on the Anubarak. Dansky is going to be the Div. Collusion is on Ariel. Nasmus is the Diva. And we have Vala played by Cure.
Looking to cause an upset once again, it's Nomia in the red. Vanilla on Lucio. John Untested, our Fat 94 rocking the Tracer, Robodoba on Johanna, and Arcana on Alarak.
We haven't seen too much Alarak at this tournament, but he has, kind of popped up here. The Ruthless Momentum is the option at level 1. It's very common to see that whenever he is going to be part of a 4-man with high intent to just execute. He is the one who kind of sets the tone by that telekinesis in, the silence, and then ideally I expect a Tracer to be shortly after with a Pulse Bomb. There it is.
Already looking straight on. The Force of Will is good. It's going to keep Q alive for a little bit of time, but the boop is there, and Valor is gone. First blood for Nomia.
So well done here. I mean, I'm satisfied to see that, in fact, that Nomia, with the risky pick of the Alarak, is showing, at least some justification for it, because the last time that we saw it, every fight seemed to be kind of avoided, but Nomia here, understanding their strengths, and they're looking to punish Team Freedom.
Yeah, we discussed as this draft was underway the amount of wave clear that Nomia have. They are solely relying on Johanna for that aspect, and the rotations between mid to top are going to be quite explosive in that regard, looking for the picks, especially with the Tracer, and how they can manipulate it with that Force of Will cooldown.
Arcaner coming in with another silence. The portal, though, dropping before that point in time. Glorong talked about the intricacies a bit that can exist between the matchup in the Alarak versus that Medivh.
Wow.
But the biggest thing is just going to be the safety, getting the Medivh through the science, because then the kill target, if you don't hit him, is going to get that Force of Will, find themselves a portal. So it's very crucial that we see Arcaner targeting Dainsky there on the Medivh.
Yeah, I want to see flat out aggression, what we are known for in ANZ, to start this game off with, to potentially cause an upset once again at an international event as they carry on the wave clearing potential, looking for those 50 gems, looking for the rotational kills, and especially looking to bounce off this Alarak.
Really good use of the portals for the rotations here for Freedom, making sure that they try and find a way to stay ahead, and it's also allowing them to not let the death ball of Nomia have the opportune fight, or at least the ideal one for themselves. And the rest of it is just about the wave clear and about the gems able to be obtained by both sides. With only one kill onto the table, it actually didn't even really give Nomia that big of a gem advantage, just due to the fact that it was so very early on. So we find ourselves for this final game of day one. It is the elimination match here. Again, one of these teams will be going home, North America or Australia and New Zealand. Nice Pulse Bomb, but again, a Force of Will to say not today.
I want to propose a bit of a crazy theory here in terms of how these team fights could potentially pan out.
Hit me with it.
Sound barrier for the self-destruction. Do they just brute straight forward and say, we don't care, hit me with your best shot?
What if it's not so much a response to it, but you go with the sound barrier and then the movement speed? Hold on a minute here. Iron Skin's still available, though. Robodoba's going to be just fine there. Parting gift dropped from Fat, as you can see him doing work. Pulse Bomb there didn't end up landing, but either way, the Force of Will always there whenever we have Dainsky there onto the Medivh.
Yeah, going to be an interesting mechanic, I suppose, in terms of how Nomia can try and play this one. If they can try and bait that cooldown out from the likes of Dainsky there. If they do, it's a guaranteed kill every single time. The Force of Will is good once again, making sure that he does not drop. And every chance Zagara gets to go in, he's looking for it.
Really great use there of the mobility coming out from Vanilla. Combo lands onto Ariel. Condemn going to drop her in. The slow is there, but another Force of Will. Dainsky every single time is the man there, and that is why I brought that emphasis of Alarak needs to find a way to be able to get that stun on, or excuse me, the silence onto Dainsky. Otherwise, it's just save after save after save, much like we saw in game number 1.
100%, but this has been a long day, 12 hours on the trot here, and nerves and fatigue really are going to start to come into play here as to whether or not these teams can execute what their comp's full potential is.
Nomia, it's going to be in their best interest to concentrate due to the fact that Johanna and Tassadar really are the only wave clear to hopefully be the ones to get that very first turn in. They do have 22 of their own completed with that turn in. The portal play is going to be on. If Nomia doesn't look like they have too much interest there. Robodoba with the 24 gems, you know he does not want to drop those. But again, whenever you struggle in the wave glitter department, you always kind of want to be the one who gets that first turn in. So hopefully you can get a couple of picks, remove some of the gems out of Team Freedom, and you're never worried about the, oh, here's the 3 web weavers. How are we going to split Johanna and Tassadar, who's so core to the Tracer, and keeping a frontliner needs to be about anywhere, right? And anything is going to be sieged up on.
Absolutely. I mean, if we talk about how Nomia try and posture for this one, you mentioned the Alec being a key component, especially for shutting down Dainsky, but he's locked in that bot lane always as the laner to deal with this D.Va, and if he can't rotate, if now they have the web weavers against him, that is a big denial of what they're trying to achieve.
It is a very big denial here. So we'll see, how does Nomia deal with this? Well, with, again, the Web Weavers and the lack of wave clear that they have, first thought is going to be they just want to wait until they see Freedom collect, and then try and dive past them, be effective, find themselves one kill, and then back out and be able to deal with those Web Weavers. But the portals of Dansky and the rest of Team Freedom and ability to abuse them might be a bit too much here.
Much the same as on Sky Temple, looking to try and exploit Vanilla there. Any chance they can get to jump onto him. Oh, the recall is perfectly timed, but is it enough to get him out of harm's way? Kira's looking for it, and he finds it. Picks up Fat 94.
Very well done there. And Nubrak got the stun, but it's just going to be onto the Johanna. This top Web Weaver has still got a bit of life left in it, but on the other parts of the map, those Web Weavers are absolutely doing work. As you can see there, down into the bottom left, the lack of wave clear is now beginning to hurt Nomia. But, you know, if they do have enough gems for a counter turn-in, which currently Robodoba still has a lot on that Johanna, if you can sneak that turn-in before the 10 spike and before Freedom becomes too big of a problem, it is still possible, but a very small, intense couple of minutes are what we're going to see here for Nomia.
Yeah, especially with the Web Weavers finding that value, accelerating them to level 10. Nomia had to start thinking now, what is our play? How do we try and coordinate this one? And it seems to be the only play in their cards is aggression, wanting to force those fights, saying they are level 10 very shortly. We need to make something happen. The portal is there. They are looking to exert the pressure, but still can't find the kills.
Dansky's done such a good job of remaining into the owl or raven form, excuse me. Hold on a minute here. Nice initiation. He's done such a great job of being in the raven form whenever the combos are looking to come out. He doesn't drop out of it for no reason. Every time it was with the direct intent to assure that he's not the one being locked down. The only way I really see Nomia getting that silence again onto that Medivh is going to be after the portal's played, they move all through it, and then you see that huge combo. Hitting multiple members. I think that realistically is the most ideal way that Nomia can approach these fights.
Hold the phone, there's the Cocoon, but there is Testar as well to get him out of harm's way. Vanilla is forced to break it down with the speed boost. He is not going to find that breathing room. He does fall to the ultimate power that comes from Team Freedom as they now look to siege in the top lane. And
not only does Team Freedom find themselves with almost a 2-level lead, 2-4 advantage over Nomia, they almost have enough gems for a secondary turn-in here, as they're only one minion and one minion wave plus one extra, you know, with all those 4 there. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. The more that the map opens up, the more that the lack of wave clear Nomia has becomes a problem. That's why we always touch up on that element of the draft when looking at Tomb. It becomes so oppressive to deal with the composition if you never found that opportunity to get the counter turn in and try and restore balance.
Yep. And balance may be found right now as level 10 has now been achieved by Nomia. Dansky on 27 out of the 30 required for the Master's Touch to be completed. Leyline still is going to target that backline, locking up one member for the meantime. The Sambarit to follow. The boot on the self-destruct. Nomia looking for the disengage. The Cocoon is in the backline that is on Fat 94, and he's looking to try and go for the execute.
Yeah, he's getting that dive right on in, and Nomia is still unable to get the fight that maybe they want. Nasmus gonna get force-walled on out. Again, no mecha explosion. The double silence coming out from Arcaner. They find themselves a kill.
That was sweaty, to say the least.
Even forcing the Aegis. This is brilliant aggression coming out from Nomia.
Yeah, they hit that power spike. Ultimates are unlocked. They say, look, let's go. Let's go, baby.
It was about, you know, I feel like I could hear them themselves saying that now. The Web Weavers, though, are here. They are very much online, and it is so crucial they make something happen here with them. Again, with their compositional strength, it does generally tend to be a 5-man deathball and dive past, look for those kills, and if they get those, much like we saw in the past couple of seconds here, Freedom suddenly might not be in the same control that they were for the first 8 minutes of this game.
Yeah, the Leyline Seal targeting the backline specifically onto Lucio, but they weren't able to find the kill. The time was bought for the Cocoon to expire, and Fat 94 was able to buy some time, create some room for Arcana to set up the perfect telekinesis combo and hold the focus. They're going for more. Double kill comes across. as they push through the mid lane.
That was exactly what I was talking about. Diving past them, they're not done yet, but Burrow Charge is available. Zugrug does find his way out. To be frank, Nomia, I felt like that window that I wanted, with that aggression out of that 5-man grouping here with the Web Weavers, because 2 members were showing on top for Team Freedom for a long while, and Nomia was yet to be that offensive. But suddenly when, for some reason, when Cure made the transition down, that was when they're like, this is it. Whether it be that was their kill target that they feel is the best to be going for, it doesn't matter. It works out here for Nomia, and suddenly we have a very close game on our hands here.
Ooh, they tried to go for the back-to-back hand-ins, but Team Freedom will buy themselves some room, allow them to now even out that talent field by getting 13 as well. And we really do have a game on our hands.
We do. I mean, this is the secondary Web Weaver the secondary Web Weaver set for Freedom is going to be very nice, but the 13 Talenter is real, and as long as Nomia clumps and looks for another death ball, which it looks like that is the case, Medivh got the Force of Will, and there is the Cocoon already going to be dealt with. Nasmus has the Mecha Explosion in a beautiful spot, splitting the members of Nomia left to right all over. You can see just drastically separated. Are they able to capitalize though and get themselves a kill? It looks like Robodub a melee victim, the ley line sealed. This may be the beginning of the end here for Nomia.
He's living, he's surviving, he's still on such low health. The shield comes across, and Arcane is doing his best to try and run away, but it's not going to be enough. Team Freedom have the control, the execution, and the prowess. As the portal is popped, they pop on through and say hello, and they get the kill to justify the play.
Now 21 seconds where Team Freedom has a absolutely colossal power play over Australia and New Zealand. They have Web Weavers up through top, mid, and bottom, and that is going to give them a significant experience advantage. There just is nothing to be able to deal with that. We already talked about the lack of wave clear. It's even worse when one of the 2 are just flat out dead. And Freedom, you see with the effective amount of a punishment, this is going to be the first keep of this game.
Brilliant opportunity seized, picked up. And as they now look for level 16 as well, they have all the pressure in the world. And we talked about it at the start of the game, and it still becomes a big talking point as the game progresses on. Wave clear for Nomia, constantly now forced to react to that bot lane, detracting from the fact that they want to force fights with this aggressive 5-man. And
though Nomia, you know, the Lucio pick is not something we traditionally see picked up too often, I do like the idea of it as the response to that D.Va, so it is less likely for that Mecha Explosion to gain that much value. But there's one element that you very obviously need to agree on. Wow!
Lucio says, not on my watch, you are not going for that portal. Half-Life 3 is not confirmed, but I tell you what is confirmed. Us looking for more kills. They pick up 1. The Rain of Vengeance prevents the second. But Nasmaz is low. He's got it ready if he needs to, and he calls it out in the last second. Self-destruct is there, saying you are not chasing us any further. The Aegis is the response, and the barrier for insurance.
With the big shot value he got in that choke, he actually already has another mech immediately after that last one. That was very well done, but I was going to talk about the mobility to be able to dodge that. The key element to that is they have to communicate which direction they're moving. It doesn't matter. Like, if anything, you know, with this type of composition, you see the mobility and you're like, yeah, that's a direct response. But if anything, if you're not on the same page, it only speeds up your ability to distance yourself from the rest of your team. You have to be as a unit if that decision-making by committing to the Lucio, in fact, is going to be worth it here for Nomia. But they have a Web Weaver phase. They're closing in on the 16 Talent here. And once they achieve that, I do expect them to bring the fight here towards North America's Team Freedom.
2 members of Nomia currently distracted in the bot lane, looking for the rotation now as the portal is popped. Team Freedom realizing that is the case, looking to avoid the team fight. As you mentioned, 16 on the horizon. The XP is the main focus right now for them. And I tell you what, as soon as 16 comes across, guns will be blazing.
Yeah, they're very much trying to wait for that. And Team Freedom questioning if they have the ability to force. They're going to. Leyline Seal is going to be used. The silence dropped. Nothing gone down quite yet. Cocoon ends up falling. Portal set down.
Aegis, the only defensive cooldown left for Team Freedom right now. Nomia with a lot of breathing room, a lot of control, a lot of potential to try and make something happen right now. They're in the back line. They are trying to make something happen. The Sound Barrier comes across, but their self-destruct splitting them apart. Not going to find any value, however, and suddenly Team Freedom look like they can go with the counter-aggression.
They're going to be able to turn this here. The members of Nomia questioning what they want to do. Another portal down. Dansky looking to get that damage. Fat questioning if he can survive this. Pulse Bomb's going to be used. Another Force of Will every single time. And now Team Freedom, 1 member down. They might find themselves in Arcaner. Beautiful body blocks coming here out from Nasmus. The Counter-Strike, though, was enough to buy themselves time, but the Force Wall ended up locking out the Tracer, and she is dead. 2 kills here now for Team Freedom. and most likely going to be a boss play immediately after.
I mean, just look at the damage that Arcanus single-handedly is outputting on his own. He is doing an absurd amount of damage, not to mention the fact that he's using these telekinesis, as well as the boot, really, from Lucio to deny this portal exchange and find the kills where otherwise they would not have been achievable, has been commendable. But as you mentioned, the boss is the call. Team Freedom looking to try and execute. They want that keep. They want to even out the scales, get one in the top lane to mirror the bot lane.
Nomia here has to tread lightly, or this very much could be them headed home with the pressure that Freedom has available. This boss on top, a 15-minute in terms of scaling Webweaver phase. Conveniently though, with that lack of pressure up onto top, we can only assume one keep is the most realistic goal for Freedom. A couple of picks, maybe at the end of the game, maybe only 1 to 2. They find themselves making the transition to the double keep. But the biggest thing here is that Nomia, they still have some fight left in them. The most important thing is just not letting Freedom get these kills, especially with that Cocoon.
Nomia on the defensive. Top lane has been safe for the meantime. Mid lane is the call. Self-destruct used very early on. It is going to overlap with the ley line seal. Nope. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not. Wow. 2 big cooldowns burnt very early on as the siege in the mid lane only just begins.
Fat get a lot of pressure there, maybe falling a bit too low. The Cocoon drop. Tacit are able to get the reveal. Vanilla, though, is in a terrible spot. Silence goes down, but only hits 1. Medivh's force it. Look at that reabsorbs it value, and now Vanilla there on the backside receives too much damage. The Webweaver through bottom has made it to the core, but Freedom actually losing a member. Nomia dropping 1 more. The Age is going to go down, and the shielding on the core is quick to follow, 84%. But Team Freedom by no means has this on lock.
They're looking for it. Curie is going to drop. That's a big amount of their damage gone. I'm not sure if they still have the steam power from Team Freedom
60?
left to try and take this one down. Tesla is gone, or up to 55% as the core is still dropping on down. Only a Beetle.
They've done it.
And an Angel.
That is it now with that final kill and all the minions colliding. Team Freedom will send home Nomia and continue the life of all North